If you have been trying to keep up with the news the last couple of weeks, one thing that you should probably now realize is that when you are looking over here, something else is seemingly going on over here. And it, in some sense, is very confusing. And you have to operate, right? If you're trying to discern the news and the times right now, you have to operate at a level for which you have to put yourself in certain positions. There are layers to looking at this, right? There is a public-facing layer, right? It's kind of the fundamental sort of layer. And then there are layers behind it. There are layers for which it's happening behind the scenes. You can make it sound like tinfoil hat. You can make it sound like conspiracy. You can make it sound like whatever you want. That's crazy. But the fact of the matter is, the military and whatever is going on with the government, they're not going to come out and just tell you, hey, you're right. The report about that is factual. There's something going on, absolutely correct, because there are multiple levers being pulled. There are multiple things at stake for which the public, at the expense of quote unquote telling the truth, you have to, in some sense, tell a lie for the greater good, maybe, if you want to say it, if you want to talk about public perception and deception for the enemy, and putting something out there at the expense of 99% of the population only to throw your enemy off course. Whatever that case might be, there is something else going on. And if anything, the process of awakening, this whole journey that people are on to say, man, there's something more that is happening besides, apart from what the government, what the news is telling you. And if you don't believe that the mainstream media, if you don't believe that some of these news networks, they have a pull by the government, by certain people, by the rich, by the elite, then you are ignorant to what is going on right now. And so when people that are coming out, independent people that may or may not have a bias, and of course I don't know a lot of these people and what they claim, but the big example that has happened this past week is a journalist, a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, Seymour Hersh. Now I wasn't alive during these times, but if you know, this guy reported on the Vietnam My Lai. He reported on Nixon and Watergate. He reported on the South Korean passenger jet shot down, the nerve gas stuff with Turkey, Syria. He reported on the Bin Laden scandal and the U.S. commandos. There are many things that this guy has said. And it seems like this is a guy who wants to take journalism and facts seriously. Now, he isn't a big Trump fan. I don't know what his religion is. I don't know what his views are. But it seems like he just wants to get the truth out there. And so recently, he reported on this bombshell of an article that mainstream media is talking about, how America took out the Nord Stream pipeline. And I'll just show you two quick clips. But the U.S. has been denying the fact that they were part of bombing this. And you have to think about the implications here. If the U.S. bombed the Nord Stream pipeline, this is the beginning of World War III in some sense. It's declaring war against Russia. It's two superpowers going up against each other. And if America says, hey, yeah, that was us, we took it out, so be it, right? Then that's going to have some big repercussions. So look at these two videos that Victoria Nuland and Biden has said previously, right, about the Nord Stream pipeline.
I want to be clear with you today. If Russia invades Ukraine, one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
So this was said a while back, before the Nord Stream pipeline blew up. And if you look at it, right, and again, I talk about multiple layers. You could look at it from a public-facing view and just say, oh, haha, it's very strong diplomatic language, no big deal. Or you could look at it as, hey, I'm speaking directly to you, Putin or Russia, and this is a threat. I'm holding you to this, and it is showing aggression in that sense as a threat. And lo and behold, this happened, right? So I don't know what Russia knows. I don't know what anybody knows in terms of military intelligence. But what's happening at the outside level is that this guy, Seymour Hersh, and you don't want to dismiss him completely, right? You don't want to look at this guy and just as what the mainstream media is saying, a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who has broken bombshell stories one after another. This guy's being attacked relentlessly online. And even the US, the government has come out and utterly said this was a lie, it's made up, blah, blah, blah. And of course, if you are the US and you're part of this, then you have to step back and say, I'm not going to admit it and then declare war, right? You're not going to say that. But whatever is going on behind the scenes is happening for a reason. Now, there's even layers to that. If you believe, which I am in this camp, is that there is something else going on with devolution. There's something else going on with the Special Operations Force. And again, you could read this whole article yourself. It's just validating, in some sense, some of the things that have already been known with regards to how the Navy divers were used and not members of America's Special Operations Command, because covert operations must be reported to Congress and briefed in advance to the Senate and House leadership, the so-called Gang of Eight. And so there's a lot of detail here, and I would encourage, I'm going to link it down below. You can read this. And again, I'm not saying you should take this for what it is and say this is truth. Again, the muscle you need to exercise here as a body of Christ is as you're discerning the world, as you're praying for the right things and for the Lord's will to be done, you cannot base your assumptions and your foundation on a lens, a nationalist lens. You don't want to put on a hat, right, that is based on patriotic values of America, of whatever. You want to put on a hat that is based on righteousness, based on biblical values, based on the Lord. And if it happens to align to certain candidates, certain people, certain actions, then so be it. So a lot of us right now, we're basing our assumptions on the wrong thing. So we're looking at guys like Seymour Hersh and whoever, journalists, independent journalists, the conservative groups and many other people, and saying, brushing them off, right, as utterly garbage because you're brought into the lie. And I'm going to say this, a lie that mainstream media, government, who else is telling you and saying, no, that is utter nonsense. That's not true. That's not true. Just because a place of authority is saying that doesn't mean you have to believe it. And so this is where we are right now. There's this war, as I've mentioned, on the information, and there are layers to it. The military is not going to come out and just admit these things. There's something else behind the scenes going on. And so going back to the devolution thing, now, for whatever reason, if these guys had the authority to do it under Biden, then they allowed it and this happened, and there might be different theaters, right? So this is the awakening theater, a false flag event of sorts, if it's to build up to a potential World War III, and they make it look like this is happening, and the collateral damage is that the pipeline had to be destroyed, and Russia and US are in on it, or whatever it is, or it's making it look like a build-up to World War III, and it's Biden's fault because he was the one that attacked, and it's getting leaked now. Whatever sphere you want to operate in, Seymour Hersh is operating at the facts level of, I want to find out what happened and who said what and who dictated what and this event, right? So he's operating there. And then behind that are other things, the military. Is there some kind of joint effort? Is there something else 2 layers deep for which there is devolution? There is a devolved command within the military and special operations for which Biden and these guys, they're not truly in power and somebody else is in power, but it's making it look like they are in power so that other people can be woken up. I don't know. That could be something interesting, but realize that at whatever level you're operating in, they want you to look here, but something else is happening over here. And so this is this process that we have to go through in being awakened. Just because somebody with a title, with an authority, because their government or whatever says, hey, no, don't believe this guy. Believe that guy. This is the process we have to go through to exercise discernment. And so I would say, as you're praying and asking, and this is for people that want to know the news, they want to discern what's going on. You're reading articles like this guy, know, maybe his history, his I don't know, political leaning or whatever it is, his history, and see, man, what is at stake for him? Like, what is his motivation? What are other people's motivation? Just because they say, hey, just forget about this guy. Seymour Hersh, it's utterly false, whatever it is. You have to think deeper than that. And so I'm saying this as one example. Now, there's other stuff I'll talk to and get to, but specifically for this article, I encourage you could take a look at it. But it's a big story, because if it is that, the U.S. bombed and started this war, with Russia, right, then this would be absolutely crazy. And this whole reasoning of, well, Russia did it, America says Russia did it, and they sabotaged their own pipelines. In some sense, does that make sense? Because they're making money off of this, right? So what is it that's happening there? Why would it be that reason? So again, nations, media, government, military, whatever, they're saying one thing to make a public perception, and then other things are happening behind the scenes. So you have to realize that in some sense it may be necessary that military operations, psychological operations, information operations have to involve perceiving and molding the mind, propaganda in some sense, in order to achieve some different result. And so it's very complicated. There's many layers to it. All I'm saying is that you have to be aware of it. No more are you just to read an article, take it verbatim and as is. There's much deeper levels of thinking going on, and you have to realize that this is what's happening. The people that are planning this out, they're not doing it at one layer. They're not saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, and then the media is going to report on it. This is what we're going to do, and then that's what's going to happen. If you ever play chess, chess is not just one move at a time. You think multiple moves ahead, and there's deeper implications behind it. So this is what's happening, and I just want to present this to you guys as a body to be aware of the thick cloud that we are in right now with regards to deception, intentional deception, with regards to what is happening with the public-facing view, and then other things that are in some sense necessary, especially for the good guys. I've said before that the good guys are in control. God ultimately is in control, and these things are happening for a reason. Most people, they have to wake up. They have to snap out of it. If it takes a false flag, if it takes something else to realize who is the good guy, who is the bad guy, these things have to be brought to light. And so use discernment in this hour, guys, and pray through when you are discerning news. So love you guys. Just want to give you guys this. More to come. There's a lot going on, as I've said in my video yesterday, but starting with some of these as it's top of mind and very important in this hour. So love you guys. Talk to you guys very soon.